Members of the mob carried baseball bats, metal pipes, lengths of rubber hose, pieces of chain, hammers, and sticks. Women armed themselves with heavy purses. Everyone shouted, "Get them niggers! Get that nigger lover! Hit him again!" and other commands, until the crowd seemed to take on one voice of roaring hatred. It was like those people in the mob were possessed, Fred Leonard, a Freedom Ride reinforcement, later recalled. Even in the madness, there was a method. First, the mob attacked the media, destroying camera equipment and knocking the reporters to the ground. Next, they turned on the Freedom Riders. Zwerg knew from experience that he, as the lone white man in the group, would likely draw the greatest wrath of the crowd. The only thing worse to these people than what they called the nigger was a white sympathizer, a nigger lover, especially a male one. Zwerg bowed his head and prayed. Then he experienced the greatest spiritual connection of his lifetime. I immediately felt a presence with me. Not just that presence of my brothers and my sisters on the Freedom Ride, but another presence. And a calm and a peace came over me that I knew if I lived or if I died, it was okay. It was going to be all right. Then his beating began. Mob members threw him over a railing, knocked him to the ground, kicked him in the back, and stepped on his face. Zwerg blacked out, oblivious to the continued assault. Attackers pulled him into a headlock and punched his face. Women pounded him with their handbags. When he slumped to the ground, people kicked him in the groin, ribs, and face, then hauled him up to repeat the cycle. The assault on Zwerg added seconds to the attempted, and in a few cases successful, escapes of other Freedom Riders. The 5 black women riders departed in a segregated cab. The Negro driver refused to carry the 2 white women riders. Some of the male students jumped over a fenced embankment and found shelter through the back entrance to the nearby post office. Others were thrown over the 10-foot drop, landed on cars parked below, and were beaten. Wave after wave of violence followed, and still no police arrived. A distraught Floyd man fought his way through the crowd. When John Siegenthaler attempted to rescue the 2 stranded white females, men knocked him out with a blow from an iron pipe, fracturing his skull in the process. Lewis, trapped near Zwerg, recalls having a conversation with himself as attackers prepared to turn on him. I said, this was it. I felt like I was going to die. Then whites knocked Lewis unconscious with a wooden crate. Nearby, the mob attacked William Barbie, another new rider, stomping on him and kicking him. A reporter from Newsweek magazine observed a local Negro bricklayer stride into the melee and announced, "If you want to hit somebody, try me." So members of the crowd turned their fury on this new stranger, although attacks continued on Zwerg, Lewis, and Barbie too. Not until Floyd Mann reached Lewis and fired his handgun into the air did the mob pause in its fury. "There will be no killing here today," he stated. Intruders backed away from Lewis, but chaos continued to reign elsewhere. Next, Mann forced the crowd back from Barbie, the bricklayer, and a besieged reporter. "One more swing and you're dead," Mann explained to one man wielding a baseball bat, cocking his gun beside the assailant's head. Finally, 100 state troopers, responding to a distress call from Mann, began to arrive on the scene. So did local police, but only after having been permitted 10 minutes of rioting in what turned out to be a prearranged deal with the Klan. Nevertheless, sporadic violence continued for 2 more hours, only when police used tear gas to the mob began to disperse. Medical care arrived even more slowly than had the police. Eventually, a Negro cabbie hauled Lewis and Barbie to a hospital, but the driver dared not carry the white-skinned Zwerg. Whites-only ambulance drivers refused to appear, and whites-only hospitals declined to admit him. Zwerg remained at the scene for as long as 2 hours, sitting bloodied and senseless in the back of an abandoned whites-only cab, its white driver having refused him service, before it was finally removed from the scene.